everyone, welcome back to the Close Friends List podcast. It's Maddie here. Oh my gosh, you guys, I have had just the worst luck this week. I can't even go into it. You know what? Just kidding. I can. One of the things that happened was, so I went on vacation last week. I literally just got back and I was like, okay, I'm going to get podcasting done because my work is reopening. I'm going to be really busy with that. And so I just want to get episodes out of the way, get some good content out. So I recorded live from the sauna, just like I did last week, a couple of episodes, and my microphone wasn't plugged in. So I was like, oh my God. So here I am, round 2 of recording this episode. First of all, I want to say shout out to my brother-in-law, Cade. He has literally set me up for success in this podcast. You know, I'm the type of person who doesn't like to research or figure things out on my own. I love to have help. And so when I wanted to start a podcast, I literally just called up my brother-in-law, Cade, and was like, hey, Cade, want to start a podcast? Tell me what I need. So shout out to Cade. I love him so much. He is awesome. Literally the best brother-in-law I could have asked for. So he's great. And he has his own music out on Spotify, big time. I love his songs, so you can check him out. Oh my gosh, Jaden and I's episode last week, I thought that was so funny. It was such a great time filming that with Jaden. Our secret musical project came out. 5,000 Candles in the Wind. Rest in peace, Sebastian. That was so funny. Jaden has such a beautiful voice, and I hope you guys could see that in our cover together. And honestly, in that cover, I really showed what it means to be an alto too. Anyway, so I just got back from a family trip and it was such a great time. It was so nice and relaxing. You know, we were out on the beach, went on so many hikes. Who knew I was a hiker girl? You know, I posted a picture of me on a hike and my caption was, I'm a heavy breather on hikes and I'm proud. Because it's so true. When you're thick and on hikes, I used to be really insecure about how heavy I was breathing. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. These guys can hear me being like, you know, it doesn't matter to me anymore. But I just have realized that I love being outside. I love being in nature, and therefore me living in Seattle just doesn't make sense anymore. This isn't an announcement, but I wish it was, because I just genuinely, I can't live here anymore because I've realized I only thrive in the summer. I'm living 12 months for 2 people, and that's not right. Anyway, oh man, like I said, I've had a lot of bad luck this week. Some of it's TMI, so I won't go into it. But one of the things that happened was I literally had fraud on my card through Venmo. So stay away from Venmo. Don't you dare send me a request transaction because I won't take it. It's kind of sus anyway that Venmo's a social media platform and a way to transact money. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. And then my apartment flooded. Just kidding. My roommate's going to laugh at that because, okay, so what happened was our washer broke and a lot of water leaked out of it, but it wasn't a flood. But I felt like I had to make it more dramatic than it actually was for the maintenance staff here at the apartments to, to deem it as an emergency. So I just called them up and I was like, our apartment's flooded. But really, I only had 2 towels on the floor. So anyway, so that's pretty much a disaster. And so I just have been wearing the same t-shirt every day this week. So I am going to say this out loud so it happens. I'm going to speak it into existence. We are going to have a good weekend with no bad luck. So yeah, I just came back home from my trip. Right before I went on the trip, I went on a date that was really cringy. And it actually made me want to talk about dating today. I'm obviously single and I go on dates a lot. I consider myself the Seattle Bachelorette, right? I date 35 guys at once, cut them off one by one. You know, maybe one day I'll be engaged, but I'll never end up with any of them long term. And my friend Kelsey Crane is my Chris Harrison. We always keep each other in the loop of who we're dating and things like that. But anyway, love to go on dates. I don't really know what I'm looking for because I love being single. I hate having to, constantly tell someone where I am and what I'm doing. And so I really like being single. But when I go on dates, I love to just meet new people, get to know them, things like that. And, I also love me a free dinner. That's honestly the main priority, what I'm looking for. That's where my priorities are at, is to get dinner possibly free. I don't always expect a guy to pay because I just think that's not fair. But when they do, it's like, it makes my day, makes my week. One time I was at the same restaurant, like I shouldn't even be saying this. I was at the same restaurant 3 days in 1 week with, I think it was 3 different guys. Yeah, it was 3 different guys. And this was a while ago though, but I'm sure that restaurant, like the waitresses and the hostess or whatever, they were probably like, this hoe. But I'm not. I just like to go to dinner, drinks maybe. But anyway, this date was so cringy, you guys. Oh my God. I was having secondhand embarrassment the entire time. You know when it's just like a train wreck and the guy just keeps saying one negative thing after another that I'm like, oh my God. Like literally, I was like, oh wow. He is 27 years old and telling me about his ex-girlfriend from high school. We've got some things to work on here. Like, damn, this is like not okay. Wow. Anyway, another thing that he said on the date that really irritated me that I wanted to mention here on this podcast so that we all quit saying it, including myself, is so we were talking about like what we want and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, like I totally want a relationship, but like I'm just so busy, you know, like I'm a busy guy. I have a lot of important things to do. I'm like, what? Like your job at Walmart? Please. Just kidding. That's not where I worked. But I just hate when people say that. I literally feel like that's such a cop-out. What do you expect me to say back to that? Oh, wow, I stan a guy who can't give a shit about me. Like, literally, what am I supposed to say? Anyway, but yeah, I love to go on dates. I do a lot of online dating. You know, I'm here on Bumble, Tinder. I even probably have some listeners from there. I literally just recently got back on dating apps because that's how I've had the 3 boyfriends I've had in my life. They all came from Bumble. And so I just like have some success on there. I mean, obviously it doesn't work out long term, just like The Bachelor, but but you know, I have some success on there. Speaking of The Bachelor, I don't really know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway because I haven't heard it back from anyone, but I actually applied for this year's of The Bachelor. There was a producer who reached out to me on my regular Instagram at Maddie Anderson and me and was like, hey, like we're going to have more diversity on the show. Like, can you send me your email so that I can send you the application? And, you know, this was before they casted Matt James. And I was like, yeah, right. More diversity. Like, come on. There's not going to be thick girls on The Bachelor. Are you kidding me? But now I'm like, why haven't they reached out to me? I haven't heard back from anybody. And I don't know if they're filming or not, but the application is so long. I have never filled out paperwork like that before. Like, truly, genuinely never. It was like 52 pages. I don't know. I literally don't know if I'm allowed to say any of this, but whatever. But now that I have a podcast, I feel like I shouldn't go on because girls would be like, she's here for the wrong reasons, which would not be true because Matt James, oh my God, Matt James is so hot. Oh my gosh, I hope they get back to me. In the meantime, I'm just going to consider myself the Seattle Bachelorette. One of the best dates I went on was I went bowling, which I know is like so lame. It sounds so lame. And I wasn't expecting it to be one of the best dates I've been on, but it was so fun. I think it was because like I just had a really good time with like the person I was with, and it was an aesthetic bowling alley. It had like an arcade. It was all pink and stuff, and I was obsessed. But yeah, I hate when literally after like I'll be like, you know, I'm not interested in this person romantically, obviously. Like, I can kind of sense things right off the bat, but I want to be friends with them. And I will, like, genuinely, like, mean it when I say it. And then I don't hear from them again. So, anyway. But something that I am on dates is I, like, never ghost people. I will tell them straight up how I feel. Like, even at the end of the date. I literally did this with this guy right before I left for my trip. I was literally like, I feel like you're not interested in me. I'm not really interested in you. Probably won't see you again. So I may break your heart, but I'll break it early, you know? So which is better, early or too late? Yeah, I just like to be honest. And I think it's because, well, part of it is because I just think that that's what's best is to just be like honest, like very early. But also I kind of like the drama of it. I kind of like the drama of like seeing their face in real time of me rejecting them. One time I did that to a guy and he was like, yo, you like totally just broke my heart. And that was kind of hot. I was like, okay. One of the worst dates I had been on, I got catfished a while ago. Yes, full on. It wasn't even like that picture was probably from like maybe 5 years ago. No, it was a completely different person. Here's what happened. I literally matched with him on Tinder and he was like, hey, do you want to go out to this bar tonight? And I was like, honestly, yeah, like, let's just see if like, we can hang. Let's see if we vibe in person. Let's just get it over with, basically, is what my mindset was. The one rule that I had at the time was like, I only meet people in public, obviously. So we go to this bar and I'm like, sitting there, and all of a sudden he comes up to me and he's like, hey, Maddie. And I was like, oh my God, like this is not, I feel bad because he did have a Southern accent, not anything against Southern people, but that's just what he had, a Southern accent. And he was like so different. Like I can't even begin to explain. Like he was blonde. I never go for blondes. Like don't say anything about that. But anyway, that's not even the point, but it was just like so weird. I was like, hey dude, that's not cool. And I just felt so uncomfortable. So I pulled something that I hope I never have to do again. And I did the whole, I gotta go to the bathroom. But then I got in an Uber and went home. And I told my Uber driver all about it and it freaked me out. So ever since that, I have 2 rules and I want to share those with you. So number 1, I always FaceTime the person beforehand, especially like the only dating I do at this point is online dating. I've actually never been asked out in person. Is that lame? Is that losery? Should I not confess that? Anyway, so yeah, FaceTime beforehand. And then I always let at least one of my friends know where I'm at, where I'm going, and maybe even send them my location. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you, it's also nice to FaceTime someone because you can just, doo-doo, like end the call if it's not going well. I don't think I've ever told this story to anybody, but here I am telling it to the world. One time I FaceTimed this guy, right? And I literally think that he was on crack. I'm not joking. Like, y'all are being like, crackhead energy. But no, this guy, like, actually had bad energy to the point where I was like, he probably needs help. So him and I were FaceTiming, and it was one of those FaceTimes where he probably saw pause the entire time on his end. And I was just like, what is happening? And at one point, so he kind of talked like this. He was like, dude, totally. Like, I don't even remember what we talked about because it was all pointless. I didn't understand a thing that was going on. At one point, like, the call wasn't even that long, but at one point he goes, dude, I'm just like hearing a song in my head. Like, I'm hearing a song. I need to dance. I need to dance. And so he put his phone up on the countertop. He's in his kitchen. He puts it on the countertop and scooches way back. So I'm seeing his full body and I'm like, what is going on? So he starts doing this like shuffle jump. I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe I'll reenact it and post it on my Instagram because it was so funny. It was like the shuffle jump thing, right? Then he goes into, I'm not joking, the full on worm. I was like, who the hell does the worm sober? He's definitely not sober. So I'm done. I can't do this. I can't watch this man anymore. And I hit that red end call button and I literally blocked him. I had never told this story to anybody before, but I told my siblings while I was in the car on our drive back from our vacation. And my brother was like, Maddie, I can't believe that this guy's last memory with you is him being vulnerable and doing the worm and you hanging up and blocking it. That was so crazy. Also, like, this weird thing that I do on dates is sometimes when I know that it's going bad and I never want to see the person again, is that I will, like, sometimes make up stuff so that they don't know too much about me. Which is probably not good, but I mean, like, the only time I can think of, like, when I actually did this was, a guy was like, oh, where do you work? And I just didn't want to get into that because I was like, I know I'm not going to see him again. And so I told him I was an interior designer. And some of y'all are going to be like, Maddie cannot even decorate her room. Like, are you kidding me? Anyway, those are some of my entertaining dating stories. So I know I haven't gotten into this yet. I'll probably dedicate a whole episode to like my Christian conservative background that I used to have, but I used to be like really involved in church and a really committed Christian woman. And I still believe in God and like some of the morals and things like that. And I think that it's great if you go to church. That's awesome. And I have a lot of friends in there. But one of the things that I really did not like about the quote unquote Christian community is that there's like pressure as a woman, and I'm sure as a man too, but I don't know their experience, but there's like pressure as a woman to get married. And I remember thinking like, oh, I would hate to get to 40 years old, having, a husband, possibly kids, and being like, I miss being 22, and I hated being in an environment where people would try to like rush out of being single and like just want to get married so fast and be in relationships. I just never wanted to build my life around the expectations of getting married and having kids. And I feel like the church environment really, was hard to be around when I wanted to have that mindset. Like I said earlier, I've had 3 boyfriends in my life and they all came from Bumble. So I wish this episode was sponsored by Bumble, but whatever. It basically is. One of my ex-boyfriends actually followed the podcast on Instagram. And so, Nate, if you're listening, this is your official invite on the podcast. What would we even talk about? I guess we could talk shit about each other. And see how I was as a girlfriend. He doesn't know this, but he was my first boyfriend. And we were 19, so he was like my first official boyfriend. But yeah, Nate, if you want to come on, totally can. He broke my heart at the time, but now like I realize it wasn't that big of a deal. I was just 19, it was one of those things. Like my heart wasn't broken. I was just 19. By the time this podcast comes out, it will actually be almost a year where I went through an actual heartbreaking breakup. I dated this guy who I won't say his name, but we dated for about a year. A lot of my close friends actually know him, and I honestly don't have bad blood with him. It just didn't work out. It just wasn't meant to be. But the trip that I recently went on kind of brought up a lot of those emotions because the last time I was there was with him. And it's just like been a crazy year getting over that. And I've realized so much about myself and about expectations I have for my relationships. And I am just moving on over here. I can't believe that it's almost been a year. How crazy. When it first happened, it just feels like the end of the world. Like it feels like, holy crap, I'm going through it and I'm never going to make it out. But here I am a year later and I'm so much more happy. Things are just better. Life has gone up. My breakup with him was really hard because it was a pretty toxic relationship. We were really great friends, but I don't think that we should have been together like that. And it was really hard for me to leave that relationship because I felt as though we built our lives together. Even though we didn't actually build our lives together, we did in conversations, if that makes sense. I'm not much of a planner, but he initiated a lot of conversations about, I want to get engaged by this time, married by this time, we should live here, like even things like kids' names, like things that we definitely shouldn't have talked about because we weren't ready for those conversations. But also, I just felt like the way that I posted about our relationship over social media was very much like everything's perfect, things are going well, when behind the scenes they weren't. And so now I'm like super careful just because I just don't want to feel an extra added pressure if things do go wrong. And I definitely did. So I think a lot of people didn't know how bad things were at some points. And I won't go too much into it, but just at the end of the day, I learned that relationships are not meant to be hard. Like life is hard enough. I don't care if it's a boyfriend or just a friend. Your relationships aren't meant to be that difficult. Seriously, like you're supposed to love being around them and you're supposed to be with someone who loves you. I always tell girls that I know, I'm like, be with a man who worships the ground you walk on. That's the standard that I have. No, just kidding. But anyway, and literally when I thought about breaking up with him, it felt like a relief. And I was like, okay, that's a sign. But I just felt like, sometimes that people, men and women, We blind ourselves to issues that we have because we're afraid to be alone. And that's definitely the place I was in a year ago. And even though it was really painful, and honestly, it does feel like a loss of a person in your life, and there's so many emotions that come with it, I am better off. That's one of my favorite songs, Better Off by Ariana Grande. That was like literally my favorite song on my playlist. Speaking of playlists, I made a breakup playlist, which kind of goes through the emotions of going through an actual breakup. The first song on it is Feeling Myself by Beyonce and Nicki Minaj. But then the next one is If the World Was Ending, You'd Come Over Right. So it's got a wide range of emotions, just like a breakup does. One of the things that I did that really helped me get through that time was just reminding myself of my worth and that I can have expectations, and just because one person didn't meet them isn't the end of the world. Another thing that I did to make it through, which is honestly, in my opinion, some of the best breakup advice I have, is I had this list on my phone, and I would never share it publicly, but it was a list of things that went wrong in our relationship and things that I didn't like about him. And anytime I felt sad, or anytime I was like, oh, I miss him, or I want to text him, or whatever, I would literally go to that list on my phone and read it out loud if I was alone, or just like go over it if I was like out somewhere or whatever. But honestly, that helped me so much. Like, I literally had to remind myself that being with this person in that way, it wasn't the right thing for me. I also had really good accountability. My friend Kia, literally, if I mention this guy's name, she will be like, bitch, shut up. We don't talk about our exes. Like, she's just like so harsh. And like, it's honestly the type of person I need. Like, sometimes I feel like your accountability just needs to be real and straight up. I mean, sometimes Kia would say things and I was like, wow, that kind of hurt my feelings. But you know what? It was the right thing to do. And I love her and she loves me. And that's the only reason why. She's just like straight up, and I love it. Another thing that I really had to do was like distract myself. I am literally a kayaker today because of my breakup last year. Like, I am an avid kayaker because of that. A few days after we broke up, I bought a kayak and I was out on the water every day for weeks. I would just say, if you're in a relationship right now and you're unhappy, or maybe it feels like it's so hard when life is hard enough, let this be your sign. Bitch, this is your sign. Break up with him. Seriously, like, it's not meant to be that hard. And I personally would rather be alone than be with someone who is difficult. I'd rather be alone than be with someone who's not meant for me, So anyway, and being single is awesome. Just remind yourself of that. I genuinely mean it. Like, you can go out and do things. We're living the free life. I've got no kids. I just have rent. That's my only responsibility at this point in time. But I hope that maybe me talking about this helps someone. I know that I just briefly spoke about it, but I'm sure that I will again in the future. But yeah, I hope that some of the things that I did when I went through my breakup last year help you guys out. Another thing that can help you out is literally my playlist. I need to change the title of it because it has my ex's name in it, but I will post it in the link in my bio on my Instagram because it is just such a good playlist. All right, let's get into our close friends list of the week. Okay, the first person on our close friends list for this week is Dom Roberts. Dom Roberts, first of all, is just a beautiful woman. She is a queen. Like, I just love looking at her photos. Like, she's just so beautiful. But another thing that she does is she does a lot of text posts about different things that are going on in our world. So she talks a lot about Black Lives Matter and that movement. She also talks about things in society. Like, she did this entire post about cancel culture and how, if people make mistakes, we need to give them space to learn from it, because isn't that what we want? She also talks about things like defunding the police and, racism in America, justice for Breonna Taylor. So I would say she's a really important person to follow, especially in these times. Okay, have you guys seen that new trend, what blank you are? It's like you can find different pictures with your name on it. Well, my favorite right now is what dog are you? My dog that I got is so cute. It's like a little chihuahua with like sunglasses and a fabulous bag. Like, it is just so me. So I just love those. I think those are so cute. The last person on our close friends list for this week is one of my close friends, Haley. Her Instagram is Haley_Victoria. She is literally one of my favorite people. Just the energy that she brings into every single room is amazing. She always makes me feel like I am the best. Like, she always gives other people confidence. I see her do that to me and to other people, and I just love being around Haley. She's also been posting a lot of great resources for the Black Lives Matter movement. She talks a lot about mental health, and she just shares her life on Instagram, and I love that. She's also just so beautiful. Like, oh my God, like literally. So I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode, I have pink hair now. And she had pink hair at one point, and honestly, I was inspired by that. So Haley inspires me in so many ways, including in my hair. Damn, I love being around Haley. Haley, I just love you. You are so awesome, and I can't wait to have you on the podcast. I need you guys to meet her because just the energy that she brings and the things that she talks about are so important. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Close Friends List podcast. You can follow at the Close Friends List on Instagram and email theclosefriendslist@gmail.com. Episodes drop every single Friday. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.